Hey everyone. Today I just want to talk about where and how you can get pretty cheap soil additives or create your own bonsai soil mix. The idea of adding this to a soil is to get better drainage, and some of these actually hold water and still give you that, airy soil mix. The component that actually causes poor drainage is the very fine particles that kind of clump together. They keep the water from draining out. There's a lot of water tension. You want it to be airy and large particles, so there's spaces in between, and then you've got other materials that fill in those gaps. It just helps to drain better, larger particles. Um, if you take your soil and you kind of clump it together in your hands and you feel that it's muddy, or the color kind of sticks to your hand, that type of soil is going to um, block drainage holes very easily. So I've got a couple of options here that you could add to your organic um, soil mix. The organic part being either like pine bark and peat, or just pine bark. I use both peat and pine bark. For pine bark, you want to get, if you can get your hands on pine bark mulch, that's probably the best thing. It's bark that's been shredded, ground in small particles. This one is still a little big for my liking. This was actually made from pine bark nuggets that you can get from your box stores, big box stores, like Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's, any place with a garden center. They will have the pine bark nuggets. So what I did here was, I use this as mulch for my fruit trees, and then over time they just kind of break down by themselves, and the smaller particles kind of show up at the top or the bottom. Mine was at the top, and that's how I grab these. But for some bigger ones, I just break it. You can break it up by hand or use a hammer. So that's the first item. Here it's about $3 to $5 for a bag that is 2 cubic feet, which is pretty cheap. Second item here is this sand. This was sifted from, I've got a sandy area by my koi pond that I just sifted the stuff from. This is just your regular sand. You also buy it in a bag at your big box store. You can see these particles are still a little small. My sifter that I'm using right now, the holes are really small, so I'd like it to be a little bit bigger than this, so it sifts out some of the smaller material, but I haven't found that yet. I'm gonna check the dollar store. I think they've got some type of strainers that may have the right size holes. I've got a plastic strainer that the holes are a little bit big. So the other thing is oil-dri. This is used to like absorb oil spills. Don't mind the dog in the background. And these you can get for about $5 for a 25-pound bag here. We're gonna want to sift it out. You see there's really fine material. That's gonna, it's not gonna be too bad, but it is gonna help clog stuff. So that's pretty cheap. $5 for 25 pounds is not bad at all. And there's some concerns. People say that it breaks down and gets all muddy. I haven't had that happen. I've used well over a dozen bags. I've also used it in a planted fish tank for over a year, and the water was never muddy. It never broke down. I've sold the tank down. When I took it out, it still looked like this. So if it lasts over a year in a fish tank, it's going to last longer than that in a pot with soil. So I think it's the important thing is just to sift out the small material. The other thing is I've got two different things in here. This is crushed brick and crushed lava rock. I kind of like the crushed lava rock better. It's easier to crush. You can get a 2 cubic feet bag of this stuff for about the same price as the pine bark, about $3 to $5. And you just crush it with, you know, a hammer, and then I've got a flat rock here that I crush it on so I don't crack my patio foundation. But the reason why I like the lava rock better than the brick is because the brick flies all over the place and it's harder. The lava rock crushes a lot easier and doesn't like fly all over the place. The only thing is you get a lot more powder with the lava rock, so you just got to sift it out after you crush it. And you know, the lava rock is cheap. All these components are pretty cheap, about $5 for 2 cubic feet bag. The oil-dri is 25 pounds, so you can add that to your, or you can add peat to the combination of any of these. This here is really good for succulents. I use this for my adeniums, my jade, my aeoniums, and you know, I've been using some of the oil-dri here in my citrus too, for drainage. Seems to be liking it. I think if I could, I would probably use less of this oil-dri, maybe more pine bark, and you know, add in some lava rock for the citrus. I think they would love that. So all the plants are doing great. Do another video on the plants soon here. We've been getting a lot of rain, and it's kind of some of my adeniums. I had adeniums in 2 different soil mixtures, and the one that I used, you know, 4 parts oil-dri and 1 part peat, it did not get any root rot, so it's been doing great and it's been growing very well. So there is a couple ways to get some soil additives here. You guys choose what you want to use and how you want to mix it. If there's anything in particular, if you guys want to know what I use for certain plants, let me know and I can make a video on that. But there's no right or wrong way. As long as your plants are doing well, they're thriving, whatever works is good enough.